everyone. It's Rigas again from the Practice Research Agency, where we like to think that we always try to tap into consumer consciousness in one way or another. And the latest way that we've been doing that, and we think possibly, one of the major ways going forward for the entire industry or the entire business of data collection and analysis, is the integration of qualitative and quantitative together under what we call the Qualantive methodology, as we've explained in a previous, or as I've explained in a previous video. And what I wanted to speak to you about today was one of the major benefits. There are many benefits of this methodology, but one of its major benefits is that you don't actually, unlike let's say a purely quantitative survey, where in order to get any diagnostic level information, you need to ask a lot of questions. You need to concoct a lot of different types of questions. You need to get people to answer on a whole bunch of agree or disagree types of attributes. You need to get them to select from a whole bunch of attributes. And unfortunately, a lot of those attributes are often redundant, and they're frustrating. They're frustrating in the sense that people are answering questions that are not really that relevant to them, and they're not really being asked what they think anyway. They're just being asked to agree or disagree with certain types of statements that we have concocted. But that level of quantitative detail in all of those questions is necessary to get to what we call diagnostic level information, which means diagnostic level information means above and beyond the who and the behavior, what people are doing, things that can be, fairly easily quantified or whatnot. Diagnostic level information tries to get into the why. And quantitative, as we know, the methodology quantitative alone has never been terrific in getting to the why, as we've discussed previously. And so this is obviously one of the benefits of the Qualantive methodology is we get to both measure and ask why at the same time with the same people. And the open-ended nature of the qualitative aspect of the Qualantive methodology means that we only have to ask very few, in fact, crazy few questions in order to get diagnostic level information. And I probably shouldn't even use the word plural in terms of questions, but I'm going to show you a couple of examples here. And I've got so many, but these are just a couple of examples of how one open-ended question is able to produce an absolute wealth of information and insight about the specific issue that, in fact, we're trying to measure. Why is that the case? I mean, why can we get away with asking, one or two questions to get a whole bunch of information when in a survey, of course, when previously we would have to concoct a whole bunch of different kind of quantitative questions to get at something, to get a brand image, or to get at attitudes about something, or to get at reasons why a certain advertisement did or didn't resonate with you, or whatever the case may be. We would have to concoct a whole bunch of quantitative questions. Okay, so what is it about Qualantive that allows us to do this? What's the magic? Because we are using our qualitative avatar research assistant inside the survey, is asking open-ended questions in order to understand what the respondent really thinks. And so therefore, and then it probes on certain aspects of the answer. It basically is one open-ended question. And because it's an open-ended question, it means we don't have to concoct a whole series of questions that, in a sense, predetermine the multitudes of answers that might come as a result of this open-ended question. In this situation, we're asking the open-ended question as to why, and then it will probe once or twice, depending on what we ask it, what we program it to do. That question alone, and our ability then to analyze the hundreds and possibly even thousands of answers that are coming out of that question, means that we don't have to engage in that task of trying to predetermine the answers. The answers are given to us. They are probed for further elaboration and clarification. They're also maybe prompted for other opinions or attitudes they might have about that very thing that we're talking about. And then our ability to analyze all of that is what produces the answers. So we don't have to preempt the answers. The answers are built from the ground up and because of the open-ended nature of it. If you think about how qualitative is run, we never predetermine answers before a qualitative interview. We only put down questions in a guide, right? Because we don't have to predetermine the answers because we're there receiving the answers and we're there using our judgment to probe on the different answers and so on and so forth. Exactly like the avatar is doing. I'm not saying that the avatar is doing as good a job as a human at this point, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. Just saying that it is possible and it is getting to a certain level that is a pretty good level in terms of the kind of insights that we need. So this is the magic. The magic in Qualantive is that we are able to use the pure qualitative methodology inside the survey that does not need to predetermine or presuppose any answers whatsoever, just asks people for their reasons. The answers will, the results will come out of that. Okay, so the results will come out of that. So let me share a couple of things with you in order to illustrate how this works. And the first thing I want to show you, I'm just going to put some very, very simple graphs up because that's all we need. These are the answers, let's say. These are the grouped up answers for what drives the selection of a particular product or brand and product, obviously, in a particular category. We needed to understand not only what products people purchase, and let's face it, the client kind of knows what products people purchase anyway through sales, but we wanted to obviously understand what drives the selection of those particular products. What we've done here is there was no pre-qualitative stage at all. Because we were able to simply, okay, tell us which of these brands you bought or whatever the case may be, and then we get people to explain their reasons for doing so. And those reasons are then grouped up and analyzed, and here are the results. And there are more reasons than this, and there are some nuances in here that we're not going to go into today because I just want to illustrate how much information comes from one. This is information from one open-ended question. So I'm going to show you a number of analyses that are possible from literally this one open-ended question. So this is the first analysis. This is what you would call brand drivers. You might even call them category drivers. And this comes, again, from one open-ended question per respondent about what they did, about why they chose what they did. And it's telling us that the price or the perceived price is the number one driver in terms of what led to their selection of a product last time they actually bought it. Okay, and brand and efficacy and things like environmental impact, it's about the outdoors and so forth. So that's just literally from one open-ended question, we're able to then group up and quantify the responses. And then we're able to understand qualitatively what lies behind some of these major dimensions. So, for example, I'm just share this chart as well. You can see here that the what we call the qualitative summary for price and value is actually derived. It's a roughly an AI summary, but it's a summary of only the data that has been collected in relation to this particular question from these people. It is not pulling in any other data from anywhere else. It is analyzing the survey data that we are getting. It is pure. This is the level of detail it kind of gets into. We can actually get into the qualitative nuances of what lies behind this. And we can also understand whether this is more prevalent amongst certain types of people. Every single one of our respondents and what they said, their answers have been tagged in the data set. And so therefore, the information is collected from the verbatims, from the ground up. And that's the other good thing about these qualitative models that we build here is that the factors are interrelated. People speak about more than one thing. They relate one thing to another thing in their responses as well. And also the analysis picks it up. These responses are kind of grouped up with these types of responses, so then we're actually able to break down what are the specific elements inside the qualitative information that are driving quality, not just, hey, quality is number two. What is it? What's in there? What are they saying about quality? What is it related to? And I'm not going to show you here, but there are a whole bunch of nuances that we can delve into here, and we did delve into in terms of what actually drives that dimension. And you can split all of this up, all of these qualitative responses up, like you would quantitative data, because it's tagging the respondent, and it's the same respondents are giving us the qual and the quant. So therefore, you can do a proper quantitative analysis on all the information. So again, we're on one. This is one question. This is how much information comes from one question. And I've only gone through 2 dimensions. There's about 4 dimensions in there, plus some rats and mice that are interesting, that the client might be interested in as well. So they can see how much information comes in there now, but doesn't stop there. Doesn't stop there. If we say, right, well, here are our some major dimensions. How do these major dimensions operate across the brands? I mean, what are all brands equally associated with price and value and efficacy and quality and brand, or is there discrimination? This is obviously a huge question. So we don't just want category drivers. We want to understand how our brand works versus the major competitors. So so that same question can therefore, because we've created the dimension. This is a different category, by the way, so you might not recognize the same attributes there on the left at all, but it's the same thing. It was derived from one same open-ended question. It was, the last time you bought this brand, what led, we didn't ask it in exactly this way, but this is what we're at. Why did you buy it? That information can then, because it's been coded and tagged and so forth, can be treated like quantitative information, which means we can compare what one set of brand buyers said about their brand compared to what another set of brand buyers said about their brand. What we're able to do here is able to look at our brand, our client's brand, versus one of their very worrying major competitors who are doing quite well in store on the shelf, So not as well known as our client's brand, but doing very well on the shelf. This is now actually giving us some fairly robust discriminatory information that the client absolutely needs to know about their competitor. Again, that's the same question. It's the same open-ended question that we did the other analysis with. It is one open-ended question. Dimension, getting responses, open-ended, non-prompted, so it's easy. You just ask the question. You don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what the answers might be. You will get the answers later. You'll get the answers later. That's the whole point. Trust the method, use it wisely, use it properly, use it sensitively, and you will get these answers. You'll get that's where I'll leave it today. Just in summary, where Qualantive is, through the use of very few questions, is actually able to create a lot of insight. This level of sensitivity coming from asking purely open-ended questions and getting results that we are able to then robustly analyze and have a lot of confidence in terms of presenting back to the client, because it's based upon hundreds of people per brand in this situation, not 5 or 6, as might be the case purely in a qualitative study. And we didn't need a huge, frustrating questionnaire with a lot of attributes, with a lot of toing and froing about what attributes should be in and shouldn't be in. We just needed a simple qualitative style questionnaire that asks some quantitative metric questions and then also a number of open-ended qualitative questions in order to get to the insights that we need to solve the problem. And that's what this is all about. So we'll leave it there. We'll come back with some other episodes with some other applications of this method and the power it can harness in terms of the efficiency and insight it can give you. Thank you again. Bye-bye.